I've been asked to make a video about how I organize and plan my work. I mean, I could have just written a comment answer, but I think it's time for me to make this video. I looked at the last video of how I wrote my notes, and it was in 2021. I've evolved a little since then, and that video also did not really talk about how I organize and plan my work. But I'm going to insert a few other things in this video so that it's a one-all. But you fine folks, tell me what I missed, what you think I should have talked about, and I'll just put it in the comments to this one. This will be the one that I make. So very quick about tooling. I use the Boss Stitch electric pencil sharpener. I forgot to bring my pencils, but I'm gonna make a pencil video because I'm into pencils. But I use pencils from Target, and then of course I use this Oxford filler paper. I'll put the description in the I'll put the info in the description, as I did in the original video way back in 2021, and the same with these ACCO brands page holders. I think they've got a different name. So then let's talk about the actual meat of the video. How do I get to the point where I've planned something and I'm going to execute it? All right. So the first thing is, and I've got a video about that for one of my planning videos. It's all about sequencing, of course. So where am I in my sequence? And so I started with proofs, calculus, and number theory. All combined, did not work. Ended up just on number theory. Moved on to real analysis, then complex analysis. Then now I'm in linear algebra. I'm going to do some more linear algebra and then move on to abstract algebra. So when I land on a subject, okay, when I say, all right, my next subject is linear algebra, because I'm a planner, I'm doing this all the time, and I'm doing it months in advance, 6, 8 months, 9 months, a year in advance, when I'm like, okay, I know, like as I was working on complex analysis, and as I was working on the whole baby rooting project, throughout the entire project, I was already planning to do linear algebra. I knew that it was next. And actually, psychologically, that helps me because it kind of pumps me. It's like, oh, wow, I really want to do linear algebra. So even as I was playing with all that analysis in the baby rooting project, I was looking through these books. So I'll go into Amazon, okay? So the whole library business, and I am going to make a video about how I collect books, but this is not that video. This is all about the planning part of this business. So I'll go through the subject, linear algebra, go in Amazon, read a lot of book comments, and then come up with a list of a couple of books. I'll also search in Google good linear algebra books, read people's comments. They're usually very good. And then kind of compile a list of no more than 5 or 6 books and narrow it down, usually narrow it down to 4. My magic number is 4. I'll go and buy those 4 books. If I make a mistake and I look at one of those 4 books and I got the wrong information out of Amazon, I'll get a 5th one and dump that book. And I've had that happen. Or if I find after I get those 4 books and there's a 5th book that I see that somebody says, hey, it's really good, I'll get that, and maybe I'll start with 5 or 6, you know. So, but this takes months. I'll keep going through the books. I'll keep going through the table of contents. I always like to pick the book that has the most content, not the least or in the middle. I actually want to go in the subject and spend a lot of time on it. I'm that kind of person, and so when I did linear algebra, it was very clear that Anton had more content than Strang. Really, it did. It just does. And I'm finding out that was correct. Now, a new thing that I've started to do for some coursework, this is the first and probably the only time where I actually got the solutions manual for the students, and I'm using it. I've never done this before. I'm not sure that I'll get to do it much again, because I know that these books don't exist for a lot of the other books. So for example, there's no abstract algebra book that I know of that has a student solutions manual. So this is kind of like a one-of for linear algebra. So that's really how I come to the point where I select that one book. Okay, so I've got my book. Now in the background, I always have a random good university as a benchmark for what do I put in a course for myself, and where am I in my sequencing, and how much am I filling of the undergraduate curriculum. So this is a cut and paste of all the courses in math for University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And so through the years, and I've had this for maybe 2 years, I put in what I've done, and sort of have like a little count of where I'm at. But it's early days, so I've got a long ways to go. So for example, I have not given myself a probability course, which I will at some point. I haven't done an ODE and PDE, but I did a ton of analysis. So anything analysis in here is more than covered when I did Wade. And then of course, once I finish Anton, I'm going to go in here and put applied linear algebra. And then once I do FIS, I'm going to fill in here abstract linear algebra. Okay, so that's kind of like puts me in the frame of what the courses that there are out there. Okay, so now I've got my course, I've got my book, now I have to plan it. So I go into the whole business of planning it. I'll take every section, okay, and I go through every section, and I'll go to all the problems and just number them on a sheet of paper, okay, however long it takes, whether it's 1 page or 2, and then I'll also figure out how many weeks in general is this going to roughly take me. And so you barely see it in here, but there's these little dots, okay, that I have, and these dots were every 7 lines. I figured roughly at the usual pace that I go, that I could do 7 rows of this per week. That was roughly what I was planning for. That gives me a rough idea of how long the whole thing is going to take me. And then, in this particular case, again, this is new, I did what I thought would be a video schedule. But if you guys don't have a math channel, you don't really care about this particular part of the planning. And of course, there's all kinds of ways, but you may care about this. There's all kinds of ways that I keep myself motivated. And one of them is, in my case, I want to count how many problems I attempted for this particular book. And that really is a psychological boost. It's like a little micro pill of boost that I give myself every time I complete a video or a section. So, and then of course, I plan out the weeks, and then I write down when I finished it. And that just helps me understand my pace and where I am. So that sort of like goes to the whole planning it. Then of course I go and I do the work. And so when it comes to the notes, and I've shown these before many times, of course, all the videos you guys have watched, I'll either have a notebook that is completed, okay, so it's got a from to, and I'll give it a number when it's finalized, it's done. It's also, this is another boost pill, okay? So these are little boosts that I come up with in everything that I do to make me be motivated. Oh, I've completed 1 more notebook. Oh, I've completed 1 more chapter, 1 more section. I've completed another 50 problems. Completed. I'm always counting little things that I complete to make me feel good. All right? So that's a completed notebook. And then there's an in-process notebook. And of course, this is the one that you guys have been seeing in the last few videos. And very quickly, I'll just show how I number things to give myself even more little pills of like what I'm doing. So for example, I really like the number to be large for how many pages I've done for a problem set. It's just my thing. I like a 100-page problem set. So for each chapter, I will on purpose number how many pages of that chapter I have done as problem sets. And of course, this is actually not a good one. The one that I just threw on the floor was better, because I think that one's got like a 120-page problem set. But I use that to actually boost myself, to give myself yet another little completion kick. So, and as you're seeing a theme. The theme is, I have come up with like a dozen little mini boosts that give me more confidence to continue the work. It's like, oh, today I get to work on page 19 of that problem set, right? Or today I'm on page 595 of problem sets. And then when I go back and I start doing some reading for the notes, hey, now I'm doing page 193 of the reading. So all these numbers are there more for a boost than anything else, really. They're there to say, wow, look at how much I have completed. And I'm sure psychologists have a name for that completion, dopamine kick. But I'm telling you, I think it very much works. Okay, so I think that's all that I really wanted to say about this. Maybe there's a couple of things that I'm missing. I'm looking at my little notes for what I was going to say in this video. So I talked about the whole logging business and okay, so things that happen that are troublesome. Okay, loss of motivation, getting stuck is the worst thing in a self-learning scenario. When you're taking lectures and you're in a course, the fear of flunking that class is enough most of the time to keep you working. But when you're by yourself, you can just walk away. You can just say, you know what, I'm not doing anything ever again. And so when you get stuck, that is the most dangerous point in your self-learning time. And so you have to figure ways to either never get stuck, and I've been pretty good about that, and it's been a long time since I've gotten like seriously stuck. And if you do, you have to psych yourself out of it in some way. How do you psych yourself out of it? If the subject is just not getting through to you, you made a mistake, you stop and you pick up another subject. You made a mistake, you go back and you reread the chapter and you start over. You redo something, okay? Or you back out. But I haven't had to do the back out, but you can also go watch a bunch of videos. There's something always that you can do to get unstuck. All right. And then also knowing when to move on. If you're in a section and there's 40 problems and you did 20 of them, and after the 21st you're like, you know, I kind of got what I wanted out of this section, it's fine, just move on. There will be that other section that you fall in love with. Actually, it's kind of happening right now with quadratic forms, where I'm like, oh man, I really want to do all these problems. Now, that's the problem with self-learning, that you'll pick and choose sometimes. So in my case, I try to attempt all the problems. I try to do all the even problems, because that's where all the books put their hardest material. So yeah, and so then one thing that I did not mention is the whole concept of a ladder. Okay, and this is something that it took me a while to figure out. There's this, I don't know, it's kind of like a self, like, I'm really good, I'm great, I'm going to do something awesome. I'm going to start teaching myself abstract algebra from Artan's book, which is graduate level. Don't do that, okay? Set up a ladder. Set up a ladder of 3 or 4 books for a subject, where you're going from the easiest possible book to the hardest possible book in increasing depth and difficulty. So always make sure that you're never in front of a ladder where the first rung is 6 feet over your head or a foot over your head. The first rung of that ladder needs to be a foot tall so you can just climb on it. So you got to be very careful with how you sequence your courses and your work. And this is why, for example, for linear algebra, I didn't go into Axler at first. I'm going to do Anton. And then after Anton, I can do FIS, which is more theoretical. I think I've covered all that I wanted to. Hit me in the comments. Tell me what I missed. I'm not going to make another video because I don't think I have time for that. But I will definitely answer in the comments anything that I missed. Thank you.